Hello, Ljubljana.
Hi. Hello, we are calling in. Goedenavond. We are calling in from Amsterdam.
Yeah, I'm Corina,
I am Rosalie.
and we are going to tell you a few words about the event we hosted this evening in Amsterdam, that hopefully it can contribute and bring some insights to the larger conference.
Yeah. So, Corina, what are some topics that came up in our conversation?
Yeah, I think a big theme that was covered in our conversation was what makes something or someone marginalized. So we discussed extensively about this idea of invisibility, that there are certain groups of people that are not very visible or very present in society. Their voice is not being heard, and there are certain types of groups that have that invisibility more than others. So we explored invisibility due to stigma around mental health, invisibility around vulnerability, socioeconomic status, people that kind of fall into the cracks of certain categories. And because they fall into the cracks, that makes them very invisible.
Yeah, I think particularly in the Netherlands, poverty is very invisible because people sleep on their friend's couch, not in a public space. So
Yeah,
it becomes invisible.
yeah,
Being
exactly.
a marginalized group is not visible in the public sphere.
Yeah. And we also explored, for example, mental health invisibility. People,
Right.
young people, but not necessarily only young, that feel that they don't want to share the mental health struggles that they have, or they are not even aware of the extent of their mental health struggles. And because of that, they don't reach for help. So that makes them also quite invisible.
Yeah. So, what is an impact we can make as anthropologists?
Yeah.
What can we do?
Yeah, one of the things that we discussed was that as anthropologists, we're very comfortable going and representing vulnerable groups or invisible groups. And in this particular case, we also discussed that maybe these groups don't necessarily want an anthropologist to represent them.
Good point.
Or they might not even want the anthropologist to reveal their status or their position. So what we discussed is that it would be interesting to explore the system within where these invisible groups are being present. So for example, when you talk about mental health, putting the spotlight on the service system around the mental health, the frontline workers, for example, telling their story, because that will amplify the problematic that made that group invisible in the first place. Another thing that we discussed in particular to the mental health topic was anthropologists that have power, but they also have struggled with this issue, becoming more open in sharing their own stories and voices through self-ethnography, through articles in the media, where they themselves come forward as part of that group because they have a more powerful voice.
Yeah. I mean, this also really resonates for me with our boot camps. I mean, we've had so many anthropologists in our trainings and in our events in the past 5 years who have felt that way, like, oh, I'm discovering my autoethnography voice, or I'm being more open and honest about my own struggles with career or money or anything like that, or mental health, you know? But like, even anthropology itself is marginalized to some extent, or part of a larger marginalized group of social sciences being underfunded and so
Yeah,
on, you know?
yeah, yeah, that's true. We also discussed, and I think you made a very good point as part of the conversation there. We discussed about the power of anthropology to contribute stories and to sit with the emotional space, whatever that is, rather than move towards exposing statistics or move toward, because those kind of humanizing practices can also reveal more about a particular group than just moving into statistics and descriptors.
Yeah, or even more simply than that, following your interview guide to the minute and to the letter, even when someone brings up a topic that is clearly emotional for them.
Yeah.
I think anthropologists are really good at living in that uncertainty, in the semi structured, and seeing where it goes, and leaving that space for a person to be open and vulnerable, which I think then allows a powerful story to be heard, to
Yeah.
be told in the interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of our participants in the circle also made a point in saying that often these marginalized groups have complicated situations that do not require a very easy solution. And often when you bring these stories to the public audience or through policymakers, they expect a very easy solution. Give me the 1, 2, 3 plan that you have. And often with these groups, the situation is much more complex, it's much more nuanced.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to bring that forward without knowing what to do with it.
Right. And the question becomes more, where do you start?
Yeah.
Rather than what do we do until it's fixed?
Yeah.
It becomes a multi-step situation.
Yeah. So I think that was the last question, maybe, around how do you start? Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that we all agree around was really bring back the power of storytelling, like really share those stories.
Yeah.
And this is something that anthropologists are very natural and good at.
And artists too. I
yeah.
mean, it ties into also our project AnthroArt that we've been doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Now,
I think this was the most important points, no?
I think so too. So we wish everybody a wonderful conference, and we hope our contribution has added something to your insight.
Yeah. Big greetings from Amsterdam. Doei.
Bye.